Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Townsend. I'm a bus driver. I'm going to take you on a journey through a community-owned ontological initiative. If I can get the slides to go. I'm not clever enough to be an academic. I'm like a third-tier postgraduate student, forever hanging around the edges of academia, sustaining myself with a part-time job. All I wanted was a list that I could choose labels from to apply to animal behavior observations. Not much, just comprehensive, well-attested, stable, neatly configured, whilst being able to offer feedback for improvement. And somewhere to deposit my photos and video clips, preferably for posterity. I've mostly got the second, but it looks like I'm having to push start the first. Let's be honest, I'm a collector. I started with stamps age 5. I got into bird watching during my primary school years, then onto plane spotting as a teenager with over 7,000 listed, and fish watching as an adult. iNaturalist records me as having the 61st most prolific fish species list in the world. But why? British culture offers a delightfully indulgent label, namely eccentric, synonymous with odd or whimsical. I'm interested in lists, but far more interested in networks, and particularly networks which are visualizable and explanatory. I'm not saying I'm maturing out of species lists when I say that I want to catalog my animal behavior observations, but when I started videoing my scuba diving exploits instead of photographing them, I realized I wanted more than just a species name. A key point which may be rooted in my upbringing, if not my genes, is my need to understand something, but more than that, to understand its place in a wider context. To paraphrase Donald Rumsfeld, I want known unknowns, not unknown unknowns. In late 2021, I stumbled across the elephant ethogram, published only months earlier. It's a beautifully done, comprehensive catalogue of African savanna elephant behaviors with appended instances in the form of video and audio recordings. Their intention was, and I quote, to inspire broader interest in elephant behavior. Well, in my case, they did more than that. Firstly, they made me look sideways for something equivalent for fish. The most comprehensive fish behavior glossary I could find was the zebrafish behavior catalogue from 2013. But it had little in the way of systematically applied categories and subcategories, and had not developed the zebrafish behavior ontology it had prophesied. After trying to inspire its upgrade over the course of 2022, I finally abandoned it in favor of the neurobehavior ontology, or NBO, which was launched in 2011. This was referenced by the ZBC as partner for a future federated effort. And this was the elephant ethogram's second inspiration for me to put fish behavior into an even broader context. But when I peeled the lid off the NBO, I discovered a near-dead and ownerless ontology kept alive with what one commentator called hacks. Indeed, Chris Mungle commented on a GitHub issue, and I quote, "This ontology is functionally inactive, and I think it should be declared as such." I took this as a challenge and spent 2023 trying, increasingly desperately, to revive and drag it forward. The first task was to separate off the phenotype branch. Nearly a third of its classes are phenotypes, which I've defined somewhat loosely as behavioral trait variations. For example, if sprinting is the behavior, sprinting speed is a trait, and sprinting relatively slowly is the phenotype. In the ZBC, these phenotypes were usually pharmacologically or genetically derived. After this failed, alongside other initiatives to rethink the core behavioral model, or even just to improve the quality of what was there, I gave up. And I think that the academic community as a whole has had enough of the NBO, with its impossibly broad range of stakeholders and use cases, and no longer wants to engage, let alone own it. The NBO remains as I left it nearly 2 years ago, with its definitions a mixture of non-existent, author-asserted, and Wikipedia sources, and no peer-reviewed references. And so I started again from scratch. This time I used a graph visualization program to begin to map links between assertions, between behavior in a corpus comprising the early articles from Frontiers in Ethology, an open access peer-reviewed journal. Terms were only added when they were encountered in scientific literature, which was expanded using a somewhat eclectic method, I have to admit. early on, I was only using a small corpus and couldn't easily define terms from it. It allowed a rapid expansion of scale, but at the price of data quality. Categories are organized and reorganized as needs dictate, using a quasi-grounded theory approach. That is, the categorization of behavior is treated partly as if it were a theory newly emerging from linked assertions made by key informants. Within a few months, as you can see from the illustration, it was a complete mess. I still hadn't taken the plunge into creating an ontology. Time to move on to doing so. We're now in the alpha phase of the ontology initiative. It has a Creative Commons 0 license and only imports from ontologies with Creative Commons licenses or open government data equivalents. My first job was to carry terms across from Gephi to Protégé. In the last few months, it's been possible to revisit and improve the definition rate. This was important to me since definitions seem to be a critical problem with the NBO in practice. The base ontology has over 700 behavior terms now, all processes, which you'll know are occurrent entities, and no phenotypes. The base ontology also includes around 40 constructed realizable entities, mostly to do with patterns of collective motion or repertoires of behavior. Most of the remaining 600 terms are continuants imported from other ontologies. This includes process qualities from Pato, anatomical entities from Uberon, and material entities from Envo. As far as possible, annotation properties follow what seem to be those recommended in OBO Foundry guidelines. And object properties have so far been tightly restricted, mostly because my ignorance makes it too easy to make axiomatic mistakes, of which I've no doubt I'm horribly guilty. I should note that we're currently embracing an entity quality or EQ pattern, allowing us to give processes qualities. But I think we need to review this as we're not defining phenotypes. And as far as I understand, the EQ pattern was designed for them. I joined iNaturalist in February 2024 and spent several months uploading around 4,000 mainly fish observations. This gave me credentials needed to create an active animals project there. It allows me to test ways to annotate observations. Most of the site's observations are photos. Some are GIFs, although the site owners are ambivalent about them. I don't know of any one-step animal behavior video repository at present. iNat suggests uploading a still observation and linking to a YouTube video. Wikimedia may be another option. Animal noises are increasingly catered for at iNat too, although Zeno Canto may be a better audio host, not least for birdsong. We want a wide range of people to freely use, contribute ideas, edit, and potentially even manage the ontology. We use openly accessible software. Currently, this is the Protégé platform and its collaborative Web Protégé interface. Its visible comments and comprehensive change history allow users to contribute to and review changes to the ontology. I've mentioned we're in the alpha phase of our development. The general scope of the behavioral content has been laid out. Significant portions of it have been penciled in. The bones of a repository project exist. For now, I'm managing the overall initiative, but I'm mainly focused on adding and curating content. I do need help with that. At some point soon, we also need to extend stress testing, not least to videos and sounds. And it's nowhere near time to open to a wider public, but some essential keys are missing. I'm hesitant to ask participants here for help. Admittedly, it's a perfect forum to get advice, but to be honest, I don't really want it. I want people to join us and build how they see fit, or rebuild. I may have started things, but I don't intend it to be mine. Of course, early collaborators will be well set up to co-author any paper that might emerge about the methodology, but that's really just flavoring. I hope that some of you will share my wonder at the world of animal behavior. I dream of a host of behavior watchers beginning or further enabled to understand and marvel at it, and maybe we can even help the biologists. When at last I found the ontology community back in late 2022, I was welcomed with real feeling. Without Nico, I think I would have drowned in just a short time, and Damien gave some really good ongoing practical advice. Anne inspired me with her patience and encouragement. But I should add that none of them have been involved in my efforts to start again. All the blame for this is completely mine. Thank you for your time, and I hope that if you have a question, I can answer it.